Credit cards are a unique financial product that many people use every day, but the system of how credit cards work and the potential trouble that they can cause has sort of divided the public's opinion of them. On one end of the spectrum, there's people like me who use credit cards strategically to get things like free travel, awesome benefits, and to increase their credit score. But then on the other hand, there's people that absolutely refuse to use credit cards at all, or worse, there's people that do use credit cards, but those people have accumulated high interest credit card debt by not paying off their balance for one reason or another. So in this video, I wanted to go over 3 of the most important credit card truths to know, because while I do believe that credit cards are one of the best financial tools out there, in order to use them the right way and to get the most out of them, we really need to have an honest conversation about a few things. Now, the first truth about credit cards that I want to talk about is not something that many people realize, and it's definitely not something that people think about as they're redeeming their points for a free trip, and that is the fact that credit card companies are not the ones that are paying you these points. Let me explain what I mean by this, because yes, technically credit card companies are still the ones that are giving you those points or that cash back or whatever else your credit card earns you, but really those points are being funded by the people that credit card companies are making money from. Every time that you swipe your credit card and earn points on that purchase, that value is not just created out of thin air. That value has to be transferred to you from somewhere else or from someone else. And at the end of the day, what credit card companies are doing is they're transferring over a small percentage of the money that they make from certain customers over to the strategic credit card users like me and like many of you watching this. These companies are able to do this because of the 2 main ways that they make money, which is going to be through interest and through interchange fees. Interest is paid to credit card companies by the credit card users who carry a balance from month to month, and interest rates on credit card debt are some of the highest of any type of debt at around 15 to 25%. Now, of course, this type of high interest debt should be avoided at all costs if possible, but unfortunately, from time to time, some people do find themselves in difficult situations that could cause them to resort to taking on credit card debt, and it really is crazy to think about, but credit card companies each and every year make tens of billions of dollars off of credit card interest alone. Credit card companies also make money from something called interchange fees, which is when a retailer chooses to accept credit cards as a form of payment. They will then pay these interchange fees to the credit card company, and usually on average, those fees are going to be around 1 to 3% of the transaction. Now, the interesting thing here for most retailers is that they really don't want that extra 1 to 3% cost just to accept credit cards. So what they do, generally speaking, is they will increase the prices of their goods and services to account for those interchange fees, which then effectively passes on those fees to the paying customers. So if you're paying with cash or with a debit card, what's typically happening is you're paying for those fees, which have now been baked into the price of whatever you're buying, but you're not getting anything in return. On the other hand, people that are using credit cards to pay for the exact same thing are getting maybe somewhere around 1 to 5% back, depending on what credit card they're using, so at least they are getting something in return. And when we put all of this information together, the argument can be made that it's regular everyday people who are in credit card debt and paying high interest on that credit card debt, as well as regular everyday people that choose to use cash instead of rewards credit cards. Those are the people that are generating the most profit for credit card companies, and then credit card companies are returning a small percentage of that profit back to certain credit card users in the form of cashback and points to incentivize them to keep using those credit cards, and the cycle just keeps going on and on and on. Now, I wanted to talk about this truth first here in this video because it is a very interesting system. Like I said before, especially in the United States, credit cards and credit card points can be so lucrative for both strategic credit card users as well as the credit card companies themselves. So I wanted to be very transparent, because when we break it down like this, credit card points can be seen as somewhat of a small wealth transfer system, and that's because usually it's people that are in the tougher and more challenging situations. They're the ones that are paying high interest on their credit card debt, and they're the ones that are using cash instead of credit cards at stores. They're also the people that technically are behind the funding of our trips and vacations for those people out there that accumulate points through credit card usage. And while I know that this might not seem right to some people, and I'm not going to argue about whether this is morally good or morally bad, the fact is that this is the current system that's in place, and it's going to continue to operate until something somehow eventually changes in the market. So the very least that I can do as someone that takes advantage of this credit card system is to try to educate people here on my channel about things like credit cards, credit scores, money, and other topics just like that based on my own experiences and what I know. That way, hopefully, I can push some people that are on one end of the credit card spectrum that I talked about before over to the other end of the spectrum where I currently am. And this really goes along with the direction that I'm trying to take this channel in 2022. So make sure to go ahead and subscribe down below if you haven't done so already for more future content just like this. But this also brings me to my next credit card truth that I want to talk about here in this video, and that is the fact that in order to win with credit credit cards, you have to get some sort of financial literacy. Now, you do not need a finance degree. You don't have to know everything there is to know about money and investing and anything like that, but I do believe that you need to be literate in certain small areas of personal finance in order to use credit cards responsibly. For example, just understanding that a 15 to 25% interest rate on credit card debt is ridiculously high. That's something that's good to know, but not everyone out there knows it. And some people might not understand how paying interest works, and they might not understand the difference between bad consumer debt like that and potentially good debt, such as a mortgage on a rental property. Also, without the proper budgeting skills and knowledge of your own monthly cash flow, credit cards could pose a very high risk of overspending because of a few different factors. First of all, back to the way that credit card companies make money with those interchange fees. Of course, with those fees, they're gonna want to incentivize their credit card users to swipe that credit card as much as possible. So what do we get because of that? We get credit card companies airing commercials on national television constantly, featuring famous actors and celebrities telling you to use that credit card to get 1.5% back on everything or 5% back on groceries or something similar to that. The points and cashback system really can double as an awesome reward system for those of us out there that know how to use credit cards the right way to take advantage of it, but it also is a sneaky way for credit card companies to gamify our spending habits because it could tempt certain people out there to spend more on their credit cards than they originally intended to. Some people will actually justify this in their heads by saying to themselves that they can afford to pay a little bit more on this credit card right now because they'll accumulate more points and they can then use those points to pay for their next vacation. But as a little reality check here, if a credit card is causing you to consistently overspend by maybe 1 to 5% on average, then if you take a $100 purchase example, that's an extra $1 to $5, which really doesn't sound like much, but it adds up over time. Plus, if you're earning 1 to 5% in the form of cashback or rewards in return, that 1 to 5% that you're getting back is going to be offset by the overspending. So at that point, your free trip is not so free anymore, and you've fallen victim to the credit card game. Now, to avoid this, it's all about budgeting and knowing what you plan to spend each month, and it's also about treating your credit card like a debit card that's linked directly to your bank account. You want to pretend that you're using a debit card because the mindset should be very similar. Anytime you use a debit card to make a purchase, you're going to immediately see cash in your bank account start to decrease, and when you see the cash go down, that should be a good incentive for you to not drift away from your budget. Also, by using a credit card, you should make sure that you already have that money set aside in your bank account in the first place. That way you could pay off your credit card balance in full anytime that you want to. For budgeting, I like to track everything inside of a Google Sheet file. I'll plan everything out at the beginning of each month for all my expenses that I anticipate and all my income that I also anticipate. And then throughout the month, as I incur all those expenses and accumulate all of that income, I track it to see if my cash flow is positive. And I'd like to make a video in the near future showing my easy personal budgeting template and what I like to do, but let me know down in the comment section below if that's something that you would like to see, because I just want to see what type of interest there is for that sort of video. Now, even when you do become pretty knowledgeable and you get a good understanding of personal finance topics and credit card topics, credit card companies are still going to have a few tricks up their sleeves and a few traps that they'll try to use to get you to elevate your spending level, so you have to always watch out for those and be careful of those things. Those tricks and those traps are going to include things like minimum spend requirements to get welcome bonuses, 0% intro APR offers, and other things like that. You'll usually see these types of things on the main website for certain credit cards that you're looking to apply for. Now, all of these things can be okay if you first take a step back and then you have a plan or a use for those things before you apply. But minimum spend requirements can sometimes easily get you to overspend if you're not careful, because you don't want to miss out on getting a high welcome bonus offer. And those 0% intro APR offers can be a good thing for some people if you're trying to finance a larger purchase over a longer period of time and not pay any interest at first. You could pay it off slowly if you're careful, but if you don't watch out, that interest rate could shoot up after that intro period is over. And when it does that, you could be stuck paying a lot of interest. I talked about some of these traps in more detail in another video that I made, so I'll link that video up here on the screen right now and down in the description below if you're curious about that. But that brings me to the third and final credit card truth that I wanted to talk about just briefly here in this video. And this is something that I do think is important, and I've been thinking about it for the past few months now, but that is the fact that everyone uses credit cards differently. Now, over the past year since starting this YouTube channel, I've received a lot of comments and a lot of feedback from viewers of my videos that have talked about what credit cards they should get, what credit cards are in their wallet, what ones are overrated and you should stay away from, and a whole bunch of other things just like that. And after responding to these comments and hearing some of your thoughts, one thing is very clear when it comes to credit cards: we're just gonna have to agree to disagree on some things.
Well, agree to disagree.
But really, no two people are alike. None of us have the exact same lifestyles. None of us live in the exact same locations, and none of us spend money the exact same ways. So when it comes to credit cards, which are based on those things, there's gonna be a lot of differences. Some people might only prefer credit cards that have no annual fee because they don't wanna have to deal with the hassle of trying to justify the annual fee with various credits and benefits. Others, like myself, might prefer to have multiple credit card setups with annual fees like the Amex trifecta and the Chase trifecta. And even others might realize that they have a history of mismanaging credit cards by missing payments, having high credit utilization, carrying a credit card balance with high interest and other stuff like that. So for them, they might just stick to using cash or maybe only one credit card for everything. The point is, as long as we're being thoughtful behind our reasonings for what credit cards we choose, as long as we're using those credit cards responsibly and properly, we all can win. That's another thing with this channel, is that I just want to provide different perspectives and different points of view for credit card topics and other personal finance topics as well, because everyone does have their own opinions and their own views on things. So hopefully I can just explain things in a simple and relatable way that provides some sort of value to anyone that's watching. So to finish up this video and to summarize my thoughts just a little bit here, remember that credit card companies are in business to make money off of their cardholders on average. Some people will have a net gain from credit cards and some people will have a net loss from credit cards. I just hope that my channel can educate anyone out there that's interested in this topic so that they get on the right side of the system. And if you ever have any questions about anything from my videos, go ahead and leave those questions down in the comment section below and I'll answer them or make a future video about that topic. You can also go ahead and send me any questions on Instagram via DM. And while I got you there, go ahead and follow me on Instagram as well. This video was a little bit more conversational because I just wanted to get all this information and my thoughts out there and be as transparent as possible, because the credit card system can be a little bit controversial depending on how you look at it. I always try to be open and transparent about anything on this channel because I'm not trying to sell you anything, and I just really enjoy talking about these topics. If you want to learn more about credit cards and other topics that I talked about here in this video, then make sure you go ahead and click that subscribe button down below. You can also go ahead and check out some other videos that I recently made that I'll put on the screen right now. As always, I just want to say thank you so much for watching this video all the way until the end. I hope that you have a great day, and I'll see you in the next one.